Hello there, everyone. Welcome to another great edition of Crappy Reviews, where the games aren't always crappy, but the reviews usually are. I'm the one and only Crap Gamer with you as always. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to check out one of my reviews. It really does mean a lot to me. Now today, we're going to be doing a viewer-requested review, Star Wars Battlefront 2. And this game came out way back in 2005, which makes this actually a retro review. Now this really makes me feel old because this was one of my first online competitive games that I ever played. Although I did play NFL 2K on the Dreamcast, which was my first online game as a whole, and that was with dial-up, if you can imagine that. But Battlefront 2 was the first game that I got into competitive gaming, and I actually joined my first gaming clan with that game. So yeah, it definitely has a lot of meaning for me, and hopefully that comes through in this review. Now, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is available for the PS2, the original Xbox, and PC. Now, the footage that you're seeing is from my PS2 version. Now, I chose that version because it still has online and an active community. It's not super active, but there's still a couple hundred people on there, and basically people rent servers and things like that till this day. And so there's still people and diehard fans that play the game and love that game. The original Xbox version doesn't have online anymore. Sadly, Microsoft closed down the original Xbox Live servers a couple years ago. But Battlefield does have a long and storied history. We've had two Battlefront games in 2 years, back in 2004 and 2005, and they both sold extremely well, and both received great reviews. So we thought we'd have a new version for the current generation by now. But thanks to a lot of mishaps from LucasArts and different developers, the game has been stuck in development hell, and we probably will never see a game. I mean, if you guys don't know a little bit about the backstory, the creators of Haze, Free Radical, had the contract to do Battlefront 3 and Battlefront 4 on current consoles, but when LucasArts changed the head honchos and things like that, they started kind of screwing around with Free Radical and was making it so Free Radical couldn't make their dates and things like that. So basically, also once Haze launched and bombed totally, they ended up closing down their shop. So they actually almost had Battlefront 3 complete, and then they were forced to close up due to Haze and just really bad behavior by LucasArts themselves. And then the game went to another developer, Pandemic Studios, who had done the first two Battlefront games, but they had to close down because Lord of the Rings Conquest bombed. So it went over the Slant 6 games, but Slant 6 ended up doing that SOCOM Confrontation game for the PS3, and due to that, they had to lay off people, actually, so they ended up not doing it either, although some of the coding from Battlefront 3, or Battlefront Online as it was going to be called, can still be found in Operation Raccoon City. You'll still see like the Hoth map occasionally and things like that. But I digress. If you're not familiar with Battlefront 2, it's a third-person shooter, and it's class-based. The four basic classes are Sniper, Rocket, and Engineer. Now, the Engineer features a shotgun and fusion cutter that repairs vehicles and turrets. Now, there's also a Grunt class that has a standard laser blaster, kind of like more what you'd see in the movies. Now, this is by far the toughest class to use because their weapon takes the most skill to master. Battlefront 2 takes place around the time of Star Wars Episode 3, and since both the movie and game came out in 2005, this makes a lot of sense. Now, let's take a closer look at Star Wars Battlefront 2. Graphics. The graphics for the time are pretty good. You'll notice they're pretty good and converted to HD for this review. Each class has a distinct look, and there's a number of different locations in the game, from Yoda's home on Dagobah to the central city of Coruscant. All these Star Wars locations are here, and they look really well done. The tanks and other vehicles all look like their movie counterpart. It's a great touch. The spaceships and frigates all look amazing as well. The particle effects for the time, the space battles, the robots, the CIS, everything looks really good. The character models for the heroes and things like that look really well done. Pretty good for the time. Doesn't hold up as well later on, but still pretty good for the time. Gameplay. There are different types of game modes to play. The main story mode sees you play as the 501st, which is a group faction of what would later become Stormtroopers. You'll go to different locations to complete objectives. It's pretty standard. It's a third-person shooter, but you have the option to switch to first-person mode. I don't really advise this because the first-person mode is kind of glitchy and doesn't work as well as third-person in my opinion. Now, you capture bases to reduce enemy reinforcement, and once you get to a certain point, you'll be asked if you want to play as a hero. You can also play as a hero if you have the most points online in certain game modes. And you'll be able to play as a Sith or a Jedi or even Jango or Boba Fett. And as I said, it depends on the game mode. Now, there's a Galactic Conquest game mode as well, which is a lot of fun, and it plays out like a strategy game. You move your ships to a certain amount per turn, and if you meet up with the enemy ships in the air, you fight ship to ship in space. If you line up against an enemy-controlled planet, you launch an attack on that planet. Once you control all the planets and airspace, you win. That's really what's great about the campaign and Galactic Conquest, is that both of these modes offer split-screen co-op. Now, there's also the online mode, which I alluded to earlier, and it's still active on PS2 and PC. Although the PC has no voice chat support, you can only do text chat. You can play space, like I mentioned with the Galactic Conquest, Jedi Assault, which sees you play as a Jedi or Sith, and you go against each other, and it's like a Star Wars fan wet dream, honestly. It's like Jedi fighting each other, saber to saber, using force powers. You know, it's pretty epic. You know, I really enjoy it. And then there's a main conquest mode, and it's like domination. There's usually 6 bases to control, and the more bases your team controls, the faster the enemy teams run out of reinforcements. So if you have 4 bases, your team has 4 bases, and the enemy only has 2, they're losing reinforcements, you're not. So in this game also, you don't have regenerating health, which is a good thing in my opinion. Instead, you have to rely on health droids and ammo droids. Now, the bad thing about that is these things get blown up quite often. But the engineer also has health packs and ammo packs that he can give out to his teammates. Story. Now, there are different story modes within the game and different stories themselves. The main story is that of the 501st, which I mentioned earlier as well. And it sees you actually help the Jedi in the battle against the Separatist robots and General Grievous. You can play the whole campaign with split-screen co-op, which is pretty fun. The game is filled with cutscenes from Episode 3 and has a nice narrative that flows really well. The Galactic Conquest mode doesn't really have a story, it's just a fun little bonus that has a lot of replayability. There's also Rise of the Empire story mode, which sees you play as the Empire, and there's a lot of old school maps and locations like Yavin, Endor, and Planet Hoth. Who doesn't want to relive Hoth for the 10,000th time, right? Verdict. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a great game. The online is laggy and the hit detection is terrible. It can be frustrating at times. But it's a last generation game, so what do you expect? Now, if you keep looking for a great Star Wars shooter that still holds up incredibly well, it's this game. It has a ton of different options and modes to play through, and there's enough here to keep you coming back for more and more. The graphics are dated, but it's not too bad. They look okay. Now, the co-op is a nice touch, and it's a reason to pick this up if you're into co-op games, especially for a game at the time when it released. It was pretty rare for there to be a great co-op game. So this is one of those games to pick up if you're into co-op, big time. You can pick this game up pretty cheaply now as well. It's under $10 used at GameStop or local game stores or eBay or whatever. So I definitely highly recommend this game. It really takes me back to a time when I first got into competitive gaming, and I love Star Wars. And it's just it's just a great game, and you got to get it. It's getting a 4.5 out of 5. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm also looking for a new YouTube background. If anybody wants to help me out, you know, I can see if I can help you out with like a points card or something. Just let me know. Hit me up with a message. I appreciate it. Crap Gamer out.
I want those rebels dead.